Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for the Egg-Cited Rooster, and with me today is someone who is very excited to be here, is my good friend Eli Copperman. Say hi.
That means hello, everyone. Thank you for having me back, Anthony, and looks like we're doing yet another Foghorn Leghorn cartoon.
Yes, and you're excited for that, aren't you? It's excellent.
Excellent.
It won't be full of egg puns. But just a few bits of info to get underway. So this is the Egg-Cited Rooster, released on the 4th of October 1952. It's the 661st in the series, and it's directed by Bob McKimson. Now, there is no official release as of yet for this short. It has been restored, and I'm using the restoration for this review, but hopefully it'll make its way on disc at some point. But in case you haven't seen this one, I can't show you the full thing here due to copyright on YouTube, but we have Foghorn, who is married for some reason, which I'll get into in a sec, and he's ordered to look after an egg. And of course that means the Barnyard dog, what does he do? Messes with him.
As per usual, what a surprise. No, it's funny, honestly, because the bond between Foghorn and the Barnyard dog is usually a pretty ruthless one at that, but here in particular, and I think the hit critic, the guy who did every single Looney Tunes cartoon in 10 parts, I'm pretty sure it was like 100 per part, but he talked about this cartoon, and you could correct me in the comments section, anyone, but I'm pretty sure he said, he noted how the Barnyard dog was a lot meaner than usual, and usually when it comes to the Barnyard dog and Foghorn Leghorn, Foghorn starts the rivalry up, but here the Barnyard dog's just being mean-spirited to Foghorn, who's really only forced to sit on his wife's egg through no fault of his own, and it does add a rather mean-spirited touch to it, but still in a pretty funny way, because at the end of the day, these guys aren't like genuinely malicious. It's more just like two old rivals, so to say.
Exactly, and of course we get Henry Hawk, which seems to be used less and less as we go on. This is like the third last appearance, but his last appearance is all the way like 1961, so maybe McKimson just found certain other third characters that's in this dynamic to be more interesting than Henry.
He even started to use another character in a few other cartoons, the Weasel, you know, the one who was common for going,
yeah, exactly, and Daffy's in one, and we'll definitely get to those when we get to those. But as for trivia, for some reason, Foghorn is married, and this is the only time he's been married in one of these Foghorn shorts, as far as I'm aware. In other shorts, he's either pretty much a bachelor feeding off the advances of Prissy, or he's going after Prissy, or other times he's just sitting in the farm, just playing cat's cradle and doing all sorts of barnyard games, and that's pretty much it. But no, she's a character who we'll never see again. Mrs. Foghorn is, I believe, what they call her.
Well, she does come up at the end, but even at that, her role is basically reduced to set the cartoon up, wrap it up.
Exactly. Voiced by Bea Benaderet as per Keith Scott's wonderful Cartoon Voices book. And what's really interesting is that recently I had redone the review for the Henpecked Duck, starring Daffy Duck, and he's also got the wife that's also got a rolling pin, and he's putting him down and all that stuff, and it's like very similar in the whole yes my love and all that sort of stuff. And as soon as the wife leaves, he goes, oh, that woman got a mouth like an outboard motor.
Oh, that woman got a mouth like an outboard motor all the time.
And he's all tough and everything when she's out of the picture, but as soon as she's in there, he's like really shriveled up and meek and all that. It's like a vaudeville staple, especially with the rolling pin and all that, so it is what it is. But two other references that people may not have picked up, but Henry mentions that
me last of Mohawkins, me catch 'em chicken for dinner.
That's a reference to The Last of the Mohicans, and that was a novel written in 1826 that at the time it was adapted also into a movie from 1936. Years later, they made, of course, a movie of Daniel Day-Lewis.
That's probably how modern day audiences even remember the name, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. And the Mother McCree reference.
Here's a present for you, Mother McCree.
I thought, hey, I'll look into this, and I'm just going to be very brief with it, but there was a song by the same name from 1910. So McCree is an anglicized version from the Irish Mockery, I think if I said it right, I probably butchered that, which means my heart. That was in a stage show called Barry of Ballymore. To further complicate things, there was a story called The Story of Mother McCree in 1924, and that itself was adapted into a silent 1928 movie, Mother McCree, directed by John Ford, and apparently there's even a very early appearance of John Wayne in that one too. So there you go.
What a mouthful. Any diehard Looney Tunes fan might also get the reference from the Porky Pig cartoon, We the Animals Squeak, when that one mouse tells the other cat, "Listen, Mother McCree."
Listen, Madame McCree.
As for this short, I know you didn't pick this. I think no one really wanted to pick to join me on this one for some reason. Someone like Eli, come on. You gotta do one of this one, come on.
I was like, all right. We haven't done a Foghorn in a while. No, but the cartoon itself is decent enough. It's basically a battle between doing something that pretty much nobody wants to do within the subtext of this short, which is sitting on an egg. You mentioned the henpecked duck, but Daffy doesn't really want to sit on that egg. If anything, he just wanted to play with it. And in this case, Foghorn, it's not that he wanted to play with the egg necessarily, but he just didn't really want to sit on it. And so when Henry comes into the picture, it's like, oh, well, why don't you sit on it? And of course, it can only go wrong from there, because what are you going to do when a little chicken hawk dressed up as an outdated stereotype wants to steal the egg?
That's right. And just to also put things into context in relation to the fact, why is Henry Hawk dressed up the way he is? Westerns were huge, and they were going to get bigger and bigger, because this is still only 52, and Westerns were starting to explode by this point, and and again, it will just get bigger and bigger towards the beginning of the 1960s. So of course, when they're seeing all these Western properties around, what do you think young kids want to do? They want to play cowboys and Indians. So of course, Henry, he just decided, hey, I want to be an Indian, and that's that. Is it appropriate today? No, but that's why this happens in this short. I just want to put that into context, and thankfully we don't get any flagrant, really awful stereotype in terms of visuals. It's just more just the odd mannerisms like, hey, scalping, and the whole Indian talks, quote unquote, the whole me am this, me am that. Take it how you will. So I just want to put that into context. But let's take a look at this short from the very start, I think.
Yeah, on its own, it's pretty decent. Like, I think the subtext of Foghorn and the Barnyard Dog actually works pretty well here, because, again, the Barnyard Dog is mocking Foghorn when he's just simply doing something out of the ordinary. And again, he's a lot meaner than usual, but it does work pretty well for what it's going for. And you were talking about this before. Some of the expressions on the Barnyard Dog, they are pretty funny. We probably talked about this before, but at this period, even though Robert McKimson was beginning to direct his animators in a more stiff approach, he still nailed down a lot of really solid facial expressions and gestures. So I think that sold everything pretty well.
A lot of the expressions on the Barnyard Dog at the beginning is sort of like, he's saying with the expression, heh heh heh, boy, am I gonna mess with you. And then he calls him, hey, Mother McCree, and he throws the watermelon on Foghorn's face. But at the very beginning, if you look at Mrs. Foghorn, she's wearing a hat, right? But she's got a pin. Why is she got a pin in her? Oh, I don't know.
Who knows?
I think they're trying to make the most stereotyped, aggressive wife.
They did that a lot at this time. I don't know what their status was. I don't know if a lot of the directors were like liberal or conservative or whatever, but you'd think they probably just had a very old school view of women, or specifically women in that time period. I don't know if that's how Robert McKimson or Ted Pierce wanted to necessarily approach that character, especially given that McKimson was a married man, and as far as I know, Ted Pierce wasn't. But maybe that was just more to mock that trope.
Just you remember, you lazy, no-good gallivanting loafer. You stay right there on that nest while I'm over playing bridge with the girls.
Yes, I say yes, Lammy Pie.
If you dare leave that egg uncovered for so much as 1 minute, I'll put more lumps on that fat head of yours than there are in a bride's mashed potatoes.
But thankfully, the gags here, while not the greatest in terms of the whole Foghorn Leghorn filmography, at least up until this point, some of them pretty funny. I like how, okay, as soon as Henry comes into the scene where he says, one of my favorite Henry Hawk lines is he goes,
Ooh, there's the biggest chicken ever I see.
mean?
Oh, there's the biggest chicken ever did I see. That kind of,
He said that in the very first Foghorn and Leghorn cartoon.
yeah. So it's nice that they brought that back. So as soon as Foghorn's like, yep, I'm going to teach that dog the lesson. What do you think he does? He just goes up and just belts him in the bottom. Just gets a stick. He just hits him. Just your typical thing. And then he traps him and then he does the whole Eat at Joe's thing, which seems to be very common, you know.
They did that so much at this point. I honestly don't even know if there were a lot of Eat at Joe's places around the Termite Terrace area, but I'm sure they were common around LA.
But I do have to wonder, because now they're starting to use Acme more and more in these shorts, and Mick Kimpson is no stranger to that. Why would Acme make a hen grenade? Obviously, play on hand grenade, but it's an explosive device and it's got egg inside. I'm trying to think, what real world application would that have?
They meant to mail it to the desert, but it got lost in traction and ended up in the rural farm area.
Maybe that's what it is. But just the product itself, like, why make an egg that is a grenade, but it still has an egg in it anyway? It's like, whatever.
It's probably one of those, like, joke explode things. Like, it would explode, but not like how an actual grenade would explode. It would just be more like a harmless pop, so to say.
When Foghorn gets that grenade and gives it to Henry, who's impatient about seeing on this egg, which, hey, it's actually pretty good because, come on, you try and get a little kid to sit down and do a task sitting still for a long period of time.
Oh, yeah, like, you think you have all that patience? Of course not.
No, definitely not. Because we get the whole, pay attention, boy, that Foghorn starts saying, and
Pay attention to me, boy. I'm not just talking to hear my head roar.
another one of his sayings, smart boy, got a mind like a steel trap, and then pause, full of mice.
Smart boy, got a mind like a steel trap. Full of mice.
Then we get to the very end of it where the dog's like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Okay, Henry distracts Foghorn, and of course, the egg is taken. One of the best bits of animation in this is when Foghorn realizes the egg is gone, and he's just panicking. Just that animation, that scene is really good.
That scene was made. I'm pretty sure Rod Scribner did that, and if so, that scene was made for him.
It's just a fantastic animated scene, and one definitely worth freeze framing. So anyway, the egg is taken, and we see that the dog is at an old-time phone, which back then, yeah, you had to call an operator to connect you because there's no automatic switches to connect people to where you needed to. But I like how he just says, yeah, I want to speak to Mrs. Leghorn, like the operator knows who's talking about. So, all right, you just go with it. It's pretty good. And then we get the egg grabbing scene, which that's a great piece of timing right there. And
It gets more playful, but by the end, I think Mick Kimpson was doing the Tex Avery approach, where I don't think a lot of people really got this with Tex during his Warner Brothers era, but especially in his very first cartoons, the first half or so would be a bit slower just to set everything up and then show what the characters are doing. And then once the climax or the real meat of the cartoon comes in, that's when everything gets a lot quicker and becomes much zanier. I'm not saying that's exactly what Mick Kimpson is doing, but I feel like he definitely got that influence from Tex and to a bigger extent Bob Clampett. And I think that definitely shines in this, where the action is a lot, as you said, like the timing is a lot more brisk and a lot more zany.
Exactly, and we always think of Friz Freleng as the master timing, which indeed he is, but in this case, yeah, Mick Kimpson shows off that he's certainly no slouch in terms of timing either. I think that scene was very well planned, and we all know when everyone's saying, I got it, we all know that Foghorn's going to get hit, and it's like, yep, he got it. We all know that for sure. And then we get the ending scene, which honestly, I thought the short could have ended where it's like, yep, he got it. They could have just ended it there, but the whole scalping bit, I don't know, I didn't think it was really needed for the end. It's not because of the stereotype or anything like that, but just from a story point of view, it just didn't really add anything. I thought it could have ended on that punchline, yep, and that's it. They could have ended it right there. Do you agree, or...
Yeah, it didn't feel entirely needed, or if they really wanted to include that, they probably could have done it earlier. Like, maybe Foghorn could have laughed at the idea of Henry just being like an Indian, but then he gets scalped, and he's then, like, scared of him, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of a rating, I enjoyed this one, but again, it's not a great Foghorn, especially compared to some of the ones up until now. It's got some nice animation. And I like the premise of it. I think it's pretty good. But Foghorn being married doesn't feel right either. I always see him as just this bachelor. He's either chasing after Prissy or Prissy's chasing after him, or he's just living a carefree life on the farm and, of course, annoying his rival dog. I don't know, this one gets a 7, I think. I think that's fair for this one.
I give it like a 6 or a 7. It's fine for what it is. Definitely could have been a lot worse, and believe me, it would get worse a little later on. But even then, this one's a pretty decent contender.
Exactly. If it happens to be on TV, I'll watch it. It's not terrible. It's just not a highlight.
Are they going to show this on TV ever again?
That's actually a good point. But maybe on my TV through my media server or something when it randomly picks a short for me, because there's like a randomizer where I click the button and for some weird reason it keeps on showing Buddy's Bearcats. I don't know why, but you know, it's even though it's a randomizer, it still shows me. No, I kid. But anyway, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.
On there, paleface.
Me no paleface, me Injun. Me heap scalp you.
Now wait a minute, boy. You ain't no Indian. Why, you couldn't hurt nobody with that teeny little tomahawk. I could be wrong.